time from WrestleMania.
WWE Legends of Wrestlemania, a game that I was so excited for and a game that I ended up completely forgetting about after playing for a few days. This game was released in mid-2009. It was a complimentary title to go along with the SmackDown vs. Raw franchise, and basically it was developed because the SmackDown vs. Raw franchise had been so successful. During an investor conference call where the game was first announced, THQ's Vice President of Global Brand Management Peter Mattis said, "We've generated significant year-over-year growth in key global territories with WWE licensed video games, including tremendous success with WWE SmackDown vs. Raw. The development capabilities afforded by next-generation hardware, combined with our established history and deep understanding of fighting video games, allow us to leverage the strength of the WWE brand to further extend our leadership in the fighting video game genre and bring this new property to market." The game got officially announced to the public at E3 2008, and personally speaking, I think by the time we reached 2009, the SmackDown vs. Raw games had become pretty stale. I 100% welcomed a new take on WWE video games, and the whole idea of Legends of Wrestlemania was kinda like a dream come true. A game that featured superstars of the past, a chance to relive old WrestleMania memories, a game that was going to feature brand new core mechanics and a new control scheme. Legends of Wrestlemania had a ton of potential, and seeing as I was growing tired of SmackDown vs. Raw, I honestly couldn't wait to play Legends. To say it was underwhelming would be an understatement. There's some good stuff in the game for sure, but Legends of Wrestlemania doesn't really know what kind of game it wants to be. You can't really call it an arcade style game, you can't really call it a wrestling simulator either. It's stuck between both descriptions and it ends up being quite a mess. I've noticed others have covered this game on YouTube and it instantly gets written off and laughed at for being so bad. Not many people care to explain why it's so bad though, so let's give Legends of WrestleMania a fair playthrough and see what went wrong. First of all, let's take a look at the roster, one of the better aspects of this game. You've got guys like Andre the Giant, Hulk Hogan, Big John Studd, The Rock, Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels, Ultimate Warrior, Bam Bam Bigelow, Rick Rude, Steve Austin, Dusty Rhodes and more. For a Legends game, it's a pretty good lineup, but gonna be honest here, I thought the Showdown Legends of Wrestling roster was way better, especially if you want to play as superstars of the past. There's a few odd choices here too for a game that's named Legends of WrestleMania. I'm not sure if anyone would call Michael Hayes a Legend of WrestleMania, for example, and having Arn Anderson included without his brainbuster tag team partner Tully Blanchard was another strange choice. But overall, the roster isn't terrible. I'm sure you could name other wrestlers that should have been included though. The roster can be expanded by importing the SmackDown vs. Raw 2009 save file. I tried to emulate Legends of WrestleMania for this video, but I could not get the import feature to work at all for both PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360. So I bought a copy of SmackDown vs. Raw 2009 for the simple purpose of making a game save in order to unlock the entire Legends of WrestleMania roster. Yeah, I know there's other ways around it, but it just seemed easier to spend a few pounds on an eBay purchase. Most, not all, but most of the SmackDown vs. Raw 2009 roster can be imported into the game, and there isn't some magic trickery going on here. All you're doing is unlocking content that's already on the disc. I would have preferred more unlockable Legends if I'm honest, but it can be quite fun seeing more modern superstars at the time wrestling in venues against superstars of the past. Right, gameplay. Where to begin? I'll describe the basics here and then point out the key issues Legends of WrestleMania suffers from. I'm playing on a 360 at the moment, so the button layout is based on the 360 controller. Tapping X is quick strike. Tapping 3 times lets you perform a combo. Holding X lets you perform a strong strike. The A button is your quick grapple button, and holding it in lets you perform a strong grapple. Now, right here with grappling is where your issues already begin. See those meters up at the top of the screen? Well, the top one is your health bar, that's self-explanatory, and the 3 segmented parts serve as your chain meter. If you reach level 2, you can perform different grapple moves, and the same holds true if you reach level 3. This sounds good. It sounds like you've got a wide variety of moves based on momentum, but Legends of WrestleMania is terribly limited in terms of moves available, so you're only unlocking a new quick grapple, a new strong grapple, and a new rear grapple with each segment earned. The chain system also comes into play for chain grapples. If you grapple your opponent while they're dazed, you'll begin a chain sequence, which is basically QTEs in a wrestling game. If you didn't like the mini games in SmackDown vs Raw, then you're gonna hate this. These QTEs are the easiest way to fill up your meter. You'll have no choice but to pull off these chain moves, and when you reach level 3, you'll be able to pull off your finisher, which again is a quick time event. You don't just press X and A together to pull off a Hogan leg drop, you gotta do a QTE that shows the move getting set up and whatnot. Taunts in the game serve as stat boosters, so for example you can give yourself quicker chain charge speed if you taunt somebody, but it also costs a chain level to pull off a taunt. Irish whips, how can you mess up an Irish whip? Yeah, it's another QTE. Grappling at the ropes, that's another QTE. It's beyond frustrating and you just have to deal with it if you want to win matches. This is really my main issue with Legends of WrestleMania. You can press Y to block attacks or back and Y to perform counters. This works pretty well, so no complaints. And one of the other things that works well in Legends of WrestleMania are managers. Managers play a big role in this game where they can restore health after giving some advice, or they can break up pins or hurt your opponent, things like that. So for example, Paul Bearer can get on the apron and smack some poor guy with the Undertaker's iron. I do like how managers are included more in the game, so this gets a thumbs up. But going back to Legends of WrestleMania in general wasn't a very fun experience, and I instantly remembered why I didn't enjoy it all that much when I bought the game on release day. Something else I should point out is the fact that only 4 buttons are used in this game. The shoulder and trigger buttons don't do a thing, and this was a big mistake. I know they wanted to make Legends of WrestleMania feel more like an arcade game, but they seriously made things more difficult by trying to keep things simple. For example, you've got to press 2 face buttons together to pull off a taunt, you gotta tap forward to run, and you gotta double tap the B button to climb up to the top rope. The controls are bad without a doubt, but like every other game with bad controls, you will get used to it the more you play. The first few matches will be pretty daunting though. One thing that deserves praise is the overall presentation and the graphics in general. Legends of WrestleMania looks way different than SmackDown vs Raw, and I also like how the camera swings around the competitors while staying inside the ropes. The venues look great too. Every WrestleMania from 1 to 15 is included here, so it's every WrestleMania from the 80s and 90s. You can nitpick little things here and there, but generally speaking, the arenas and entranceways look good. And I always liked how they included a 90s Royal Rumble arena as an added bonus. Character models generally look good, but there are some characters that just don't look right. For example, Shawn Michaels. I've no idea who that's meant to be, but it doesn't look like Shawn Michaels. Other superstars though, such as The Rock and Hulk Hogan, look fantastic. It's kind of annoying to have a game with this great idea of revisiting WrestleManias of the past that just doesn't play all that well. This could have been good, and I'm glad THQ realised that there was a market for WWE games outside of the SmackDown vs Raw series, but once you see all the arenas and wrestlers, you just won't want to play the actual game all that often. I will say this though, once you get into the flow of the match and once you understand the chain system along with the laughable control scheme, you might have some fun matches. I had a few pretty heated matches while recording footage for this video, but at the same time I also had some really frustrating moments that made me want to turn off the game, but more on that in a moment. The game looks good in my opinion. I love the classic WrestleMania arenas, and hey, we'll probably never see WrestleMania 11 included in another video game for as long as we live, but all of this gets negated really due to the dodgy gameplay. There's a decent selection of match types available, but a few matches, such as cage matches and Hell in a Cell matches, must be unlocked in single player mode. This won't take you very long by the way, so it's not a big deal. Cage matches and ladder matches are basically button mashing affairs where a weakened opponent will have a tougher time filling up their meter in order to stop someone from climbing out of the cage or grabbing the championship belt. Ladder matches can be a bit annoying though, seeing as you have to double tap the B button just to lift the ladder up. Hell in a Cell matches begin at the top of the cell, which some people seem to complain about, but I think it's fine. Rarely I would play a cell match without going to the top anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Tag team matches are actually really good in Legends of WrestleMania with the inclusion of the Vengeance meter. Playing by the rules and not getting involved in the match when your opponents are doing some dirty double team moves on your partner allows you to fill this special meter up, and this in turn lets you perform hot tags. Tag team wrestling was a focus of SmackDown vs Raw 2009, so it makes sense that it was included here. Everything else is self-explanatory: Iron Man matches, no DQ matches, all that stuff. Royal Rumble matches are also included in Legends of Wrestlemania, but the way the camera cuts to the next entrant is really off-putting, and this even happens when you're in the middle of eliminating your opponent. So while I like the inclusion of the Royal Rumble arena, the mode itself just isn't all that good. If you're only going to try one match type though, I'd recommend trying a tag team match. I could see this being real fun with 4 players. Before we jump into the single player modes available in Legends of Wrestlemania, let's quickly check out the creation modes. From what I can tell, Create a Wrestler mode's the same as SmackDown vs Raw 2009's creation mode, seeing as creations from the SmackDown game can be imported over to Legends of Wrestlemania. Again, this would have been a cool little feature if Legends of Wrestlemania was actually a good game. Create a movesets here, and it serves as a bleak reminder of how limited the moves really are in Legends of Wrestlemania. You can create an entrance to give your creations a bit more personality, or you can mess around with characters already in the game, and you can also create a tag team. There's already a ton of tag teams created in the game, but the eras are all messed up, such as 1993 Shawn Michaels and 1996 Hunter Hearst Helmsley making up D-Generation X. Let's take a look at the single player modes. There's 2 to choose from: WrestleMania Tour and Legend Killer. Legend Killer is your standard arcade mode, but it's exclusively for created wrestlers. Beat 10 guys in a row while earning attribute points. I had absolutely no desire to dig into this game mode because it's incredibly basic, but something that's worth pointing out is that a certain tier is only available when you have a SmackDown vs Raw 2009 save on your Xbox or PlayStation 3. WrestleMania Tour mode's a bit more interesting, and it did have some good ideas at the time, but those good ideas have been surpassed by other WWE games. In WrestleMania Tour mode, you have 3 options: Relive, Rewrite, and Redefine. Relive lets you play classic WrestleMania matches where you'll relive key moments from each bout in order to gain points. Win the match with enough points and you can move on to the next WrestleMania match. Before each bout begins, you'll get treated to a hype video that educates players on why the match took place, and you'll also get clips from the actual WrestleMania match itself. These are very much welcome, but WWE All-Stars would do this way better with better edits and the WWE voiceover guy explaining why matches were happening. The little missions within the matches start off pretty easy, but they eventually get more difficult. You'll need to do more and more of these moments in order to unlock the next match, and this is something I would normally welcome, but there's a pretty big problem with these missions in later matches, as in you just gotta hope and pray the moments actually play out when you begin the QuickTime events. You read the description of the goal, you do exactly what's described, and sometimes the QTE just doesn't begin and you'll have to start all over again. And also, sometimes you gotta be in a specific position and press the A button when prompted, but the position can be very particular. For example, if you're fighting at the entranceway, then good luck getting back to the ring. Both you and your opponent need to be in an exact spot on the rampway, and even when the game tells you to tap A, most of the time it just won't work. I'm sure with loads of practice that this can be mastered, but who the fuck wants to master the simple task of getting back down the ringside? The next mode in WrestleMania Tour is Rewrite. Here you'll change the outcomes of WrestleMania matches, which is a good idea for a video game, but you don't see any consequences for changing these matches. It's like, yeah, Bret Hart beat Shawn Michaels in the WrestleMania 12 Iron Man match, and that's it. The great thing about rewriting history, and what a lot of fantasy bookers fail to elaborate on, is the domino effect that certain outcomes can have for the competitors and the company as a whole. This rewrite mode feels like a real wasted opportunity because all you do here is win the match and then that's it, it's on to the next. The goals or the missions within the matches are also simplified. There's nothing overly specific you need to do except counter moves, perform a taunt, or pull off a finisher, things like that. These do get expanded upon in later matches, but they still remain pretty basic. One of the more frustrating goals is to hurt your opponent 5 times in a row at the opening bell. This will lead to plenty of match restarts. Finally, there's Redefine mode that puts a new twist on classic matches by adding stipulations. So, for example, the WrestleMania 1 Andre the Giant vs Big John Studd match is now a Hell in a Cell encounter. You are allowed to choose whatever wrestler you want here. The goals remain the same as Rewrite mode, so that was just plain lazy on the developer's part. And again, there's no consequences for the match outcomes. Even the pre-match hype videos don't change up the fact that new stipulations have been added to these matches. It's very easy for people to say, yeah, if you grew up in this era, you're gonna love WrestleMania Tour Mode, but no, it feels half-assed and the match goals can become really annoying thanks to the overuse of QTEs, and also how strict the game can be in terms of positioning. The idea is wonderful. Reliving, rewriting, and redefining classic WrestleMania matches is a fantastic idea for a video game, and I do wish they would try this again with a bit more care and attention. The way it's been implemented in the Legends of WrestleMania just isn't good, and I couldn't wait for the final match to be over. Once you've won all the matches, you'll unlock a few bonus videos featuring matches that weren't included in the game. So that tells me there was supposed to be more matches, but they didn't get them finished. You'll also unlock medals that you can view in the Hall of Fame. All your records and stats are recorded in the Hall of Fame, and the game does do a good job of tracking your wins, losses, and game time with each superstar. I know this video will come across as pretty harsh, and believe me, I really wish this wasn't the case. For people like myself who have a real keen interest in 80s and 90s WWF, this game should have been a dream come true, but the gameplay itself completely kills it. The decision to only use 4 face buttons, the move limitations along with the chain system, QTEs for almost everything you do except basic punches and grapple moves, button mashing for practically every struggle in a match. There's way too many negatives with Legends of WrestleMania, and it's annoying because still to this day, I really want to like this game. I'm sure you've looked at some of this footage and thought, you know, this actually doesn't look half bad, but I dare you to play it, especially those who have never played it before. I dare you to pick up a controller and jump straight into a match. You will regret it. Now, to balance things out too, I did find myself enjoying some matches. Once I stopped complaining to myself about the QTEs and once I had the rhythm and timing down, Legends of WrestleMania does become, at the very least, a playable wrestling game featuring our heroes from the past. But having to work through all the nonsense just to get a little fun here and there just doesn't make for a great overall experience. I also quite enjoyed seeing how the SmackDown vs Raw roster was implemented into the game. It was interesting seeing how the finishing moves played out with Legends of WrestleMania's chain system, and while having to buy another game to unlock stuff already on the disc was always a scummy practice, it is good that modern fans at the time were catered for too. There's something pretty cool about seeing Edge take on Ravishing Rick Rude at WrestleMania 3 or Chris Jericho going at it with Ric Flair at WrestleMania 8, but it's also a novelty that soon wears off, and I'm sure many people decided to switch Legends of WrestleMania off in favour of SmackDown vs Raw 2009. You know, they did have to buy both titles anyway to get the complete roster. Old school fans will find a little joy in seeing the arenas and entranceways, but those of you with an eye for detail will notice little inconsistencies here and there. Most of these are minor though, and it'll only bother you if you demand absolute perfection out of your wrestling games. Some other hiccups are hard to overlook though, such as the Big Boss Man having his Attitude Era theme and not his classic Hard Times song. That kind of thing can be pretty disappointing for a game that celebrates the past. Going back to what I said at the start of this video, overall, Legends of WrestleMania doesn't know what kind of wrestling game it's supposed to be, and I think it would have fared better had it leaned more into one style over the other. If it was supposed to be an arcade game, then completely remove the QuickTime events, remove the chain system too, and speed the game up. If it was supposed to be simulation based, then use every button the controller has to offer, give players a wider range of moves they can perform at any time in the match, but also implement a risk versus reward mechanic. And also, make a new version of SmackDown vs Raw, but don't make it a carbon copy of SmackDown vs Raw, you know? Wrapping it up, replaying Legends of WrestleMania today made me feel the same disappointment I felt all those years ago when the game was first released, and I'd honestly only recommend it today for fans wanting to see the classic arenas and entrances. If you want to go back and play a classic WWE game that doesn't have the word SmackDown in the title, then your time will be much better spent playing WWE All-Stars. Old school WWF fans deserve more than Legends of WrestleMania. Thanks for watching guys, I hope you enjoyed this video and please take care.